On May 9th, 1992, roller coaster manufacturer Bolliger Mabillard, or B&M, unveiled their first ever inverted roller coaster, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America, located in Gurnee, Illinois. This concept of hanging below the track while your feet just dangle had not been seen before, and the ride instantly became a hit, offering an intense and whippy ride with excellent pacing, all while giving a glass-smooth ride experience. And that still holds true today, over 30 years later. The industry had not seen anything like this before, and it didn't take long before these inverted coasters from B&M were popping up at parks all around the world. Everybody wanted to get their hands on one. There have been 33 B&M inverted coasters installed to this day, and of those 33, 31 are still operating, or should be by the end of the year. Lightning, which was a coaster located at Kuwait Entertainment City, only closed because the park itself closed back in 2016. And like most, I figured it was torn down to be scrapped because it's been so long. But now it's looking like it will be resurfacing at a new park being built in India later this year. So assuming that park opens as planned and the ride is rebuilt, again, only 2 B&M inverted roller coasters have permanently closed down. Sure, there have been relocations to other parks, but only 2 that were straight up just torn down, never to be seen again. It's quite the impressive feat from this roller coaster manufacturer, as they clearly build very reliable rides. And you may notice some websites showing B&M as having 32 total inverted coasters, but they're counting the subject of this video to be one roller coaster when they are clearly 2 very different rides. So let's take a dive into the history and lore of these 2 defunct roller coasters, the Dueling Dragons, and find out just why one of B&M's greatest creations no longer exists. On May 28, 1999, Islands of Adventure opened its doors to guests for the very first time. Unlike Universal Studios, the chain's first park in Orlando, which was highly based around riding the movies and iconic characters from pop culture, Islands of Adventure relied on more intense thrills and exploring themed islands, each with their own distinct feel and immersive experiences. The park opened with 5 lands in total: Marvel Superhero Island, Jurassic Park, Seuss Landing, Toon Lagoon, and the Lost Continent. While 4 of these were based on popular IPs, the Lost Continent was not. This land is themed around ancient myths and legends, and no specific intellectual property. Within the Lost Continent, you would find the Lost City, home to Poseidon's Fury, which was a special effects walkthrough show, and Mythos, which is to this day recognized as one of the best theme park restaurants in the world. The next area within the Lost Continent, Sinbad's Bazaar, hosted the live stunt show The Eighth Voyage of Sinbad. And finally, we have Merlinwood, the magical domain inspired by Arthurian legend and protected by the sorcerer Merlin. The centerpiece of the Lost Continent and the home of the Dueling Dragons attraction.
This is the castle of Merlinwood Forest, the site of a powerful battle between 2 fearsome dueling dragons, one with breath and fire, and the other ice.
As the story goes, Merlin was enchanted and tricked by the Lady of the Lake, leading to Merlin entering said lake, and then being transformed into a giant enchanted oak tree. Which also happened to be a bar. Not ideal. Pretty cool for theme park guests though. Merlin's imprisonment caught the attention of rival warlocks Pyrock and Blizzrock, who traveled from neighboring kingdoms to attempt to steal Merlin's spellbook from his castle. Upon discovering the book, they triggered a curse placed by Merlin, which transformed both warlocks into dragons. Pyrock, now with the ability to breathe fire, and Blizzrock, with the power to breathe ice. Now, I totally understand putting a curse on your precious spellbook. It's like Sorcery 101, right? But you know, maybe curse whoever steals your book into something that isn't the strongest and most magical creature in existence. I don't know, sounds like Merlin may have been drinking a little too much giggle water there. Anyway, Merlin eventually escapes his imprisonment as a tree, as famous wizards will do, but at this point, even he wasn't strong enough to stop these 2 maniac dragons. While he warned everyone about how dangerous these dragons are, brave knights from all around the kingdom made their way to Merlin's castle, which the dragons were essentially using as a fighting pit now, just to meet their demise. You guys still with me? Good. So now, with hundreds of massacred knights strewn about his castle, what's Merlin's next great plan? He's going to recruit you, the theme park guest, to choose thy fate, fire or ice, and ride these beasts in an attempt to tame and subdue them with magic. No big deal, a great sorcerer and hundreds of knights couldn't stop these monsters, but you should certainly be up to the task, right? Now, this is a pretty wild and very original story for a roller coaster, and Universal did not need to do this, but I am so glad that they did. And if you think this story did not translate into the queue, think again. First of all, this entrance sign, it's literally perfect. No notes, perfect. Upon entering the queue and Merlin's castle, you are greeted with magical stained glass windows that explains the exact story I just told you. Followed by a room with Merlin's spellbook, and in this room you can hear the sorcerer himself trying to rid the castle of these dragons with his spells, but to no avail. The next room is Pyroc's playground, where you would see the corpses and armor of knights just melted into the walls. Getting pretty grim here. The following room featured several frozen knights, which was clearly Blizzrock's icy work. As you got closer to the station, there is a massive gate, and very clearly on the other side of that gate is a dragon trying to break through. As guests head further into the queue, they are met with a catacomb, filled with the skeletons of all the dragon's victims, which serves as a warning to turn back now. These poor souls just utterly obliterated by Blizzy and Pie, and if you've never experienced this, let me tell you, it was extremely unnerving, especially as a child. The deeper you traverse this queue, the darker it got. Just magnificently done and really set the mood for your dragon flight. Now, most dueling roller coasters have similar layouts to one another, and they will usually run alongside each other for most of the ride, maybe with a flyby experience here or there. But no set of dueling coasters has ever even attempted to do what B&M did with Dueling Dragons. This was a true dueling coaster, as the trains interacted in so many unique ways. So let's break down the layout of these dragons. And oh, fun fact, they painted the front row restraints of these coasters pink to make it appear like a dragon's mouth. Thought that was a very nice touch. So both the fire and ice sides are dispatched at the same time usually, but even if they weren't, the ride was still able to duel. This is because the ride's programming would slow down the first train while it's still going up the lift hill in order to let the second train catch up. This was a great design to ensure that the ride would always duel. So side by side, they would go up the 125-foot or 38-meter lift hill, the Pyrock drop swooping to the left, while Blizzrock's drop is to the right. The battlefield is set, and the dragons are picking up speed as they prepare for their epic duel. The Ice Dragon has a smaller first drop at 95 feet or 29 meters, and a top speed of 55 miles per hour or 89 kilometers per hour. While the Fire Dragon's drop is bigger at 115 feet or 35 meters, and has a faster top speed of 60 miles per hour or 97 kilometers per hour. The Ice Dragon's layout consists of a 0G roll, a Cobra roll, a vertical loop, and a corkscrew, while the Fire starts off with an Immelman into a Camelback, another Immelman, and this one being ridiculously intense as it transitions into a very forceful helix. Then the vertical loop, followed by 2 corkscrews to end its layout. Throughout their respective journeys through 3,200 feet of track, these dragons have 4 instances that would be considered a duel. Maybe 3.5, but we'll call it 4 just to keep things simple. The first is when Blizzrock is going through its 0G roll, while Pyrock swoops above going through its Camelback. A very unique element for an invert, by the way. You don't see it too often. But I still have to give this first duel to the ice side. Going through that 0G roll, you feel like you're gonna roundhouse kick the other train. The next duel being those iconic double loops, where it just looks like you're about to crash head-on with the other train, pulling up at the very last moment and coming within less than 2 feet of the riders on the other dragon. Hands down, one of the greatest achievements in the roller coaster industry, and something we'll never see again. Usually I prefer these B&M inverts in the back row, but this moment is why these were front row coasters for me. Since this was the same for both dragons, 1 point each. The next duel occurs when the trains both take corkscrews over the other track, simultaneously creating fantastic visuals for the riders. Another tie, 1 point each. At this point, Blizzrock just pulls up into its final left-hand turn going into the brakes, while Pyrock stays low to the ground, keeping its speed and then sending riders through 1 more corkscrew, getting pretty close to Blizzrock's track. This is the half duel I mentioned earlier since Blizzrock didn't really want to participate here. Point for Fire. So that gives each dragon 3 points based on dueling, and while both sides are fantastic and offer intense whippy rides, I personally preferred the Fire side, mostly because of that second Immelman into the helix. Also, being faster and having a bigger drop didn't hurt either. But realistically, once you rode one side, you were heading right to the other, and this was very easy and quick to do, as these sets of roller coasters straight up devoured people. Pun intended. With 32 seats per train and a total of 6 trains, this line was always moving. They rarely ever had to use all 6 trains though. Even with running 4, Dueling Dragons was a capacity monster. Let's fast forward now to January 2008, and through a deal with the devil, Universal acquired the rights to use the Harry Potter IP within their parks. This was one of the more monumental events to occur in the industry and would set Universal on a path to actually be able to compete with Big Brother next door.
Oh boy, I sure believe that!
Great news for Universal, but not so great for our beloved kingdom of Merlinwood. Along with the Flying Unicorn, which was a kids coaster and the only other attraction in the land, now the Flight of the Hippogriff, Dueling Dragons would also follow suit and be renamed to Dragon Challenge when the new Wizarding World opened its doors to guests in June 2010. The original story of Merlin and the Warlocks was now replaced with Harry's journey in the 4th book, The Goblet of Fire, as he battles a dragon in the first challenge of the Tri-Wizard Tournament in hopes to win the Tri-Wizard Cup. The Ice Dragon, now the Hungarian Horntail, and the Fire Dragon now transitioned into the Chinese Fireball. Like many others, I wasn't thrilled with the retheme, but understandably with how popular Harry Potter had become, this made sense for Universal. It is a bit ironic how a retheme of a ride to Harry Potter actually lost it a bit of magic. Ultimately, however, the retheme was fine. There were still lots of cool things to look at in the queue, specifically the Tri-Wizard Cup itself. And the actual roller coasters and the ride experience were still the same. But not for long. In the summer of 2011, there were 2 separate incidents where someone was hit by an object, and one of those incidents caused a man to go blind. By the year 2011, almost everybody had a smartphone in their pocket, which had not been the case for the ride's earlier years, causing these types of incidents to occur more often. And it wasn't only on this roller coaster, but coasters all around the world. This led to many parks utilizing metal detectors and lockers to try and limit these occurrences from happening. After an internal investigation, it was announced in October 2011 that the coasters would never duel again, and in my opinion, that was the day the dragons died. While the coasters would run for another 6 years without the dueling aspect, they went from top-tier attractions to middle-of-the-road B&M inverted coasters. Rides like Alpengeist at Busch Gardens and Raptor at Cedar Point were on par with these coasters now, and in my opinion, that was definitely not the case while these dragons were still dueling. Seeing and riding the coasters through their layout without those 4 dueling instances just didn't feel right. And I wasn't the only one who apparently felt this way. After those incidents, this ride lost all of its popularity. The ride was always a walk-on from this point on, and guests could see that this ride was not operating as it should be. It was missing its main draw now. Universal took note of this, and on September 4th, 2017, Dragon Challenge, previously the Dueling Dragons, saw its final riders. In its place, Universal built Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, a highly immersive, intimate multi-launch coaster themed to Harry Potter, of course. Now, it is evident that Hagrid's theming is top-notch and could potentially be the best themed roller coaster in the world. But there's just something about an original story that makes you feel like you aren't always being marketed to. And that speaks truer today than ever. While the ride is gone, the lore continues to live on at Universal. You can see an Easter egg in the Hagrid's queue where there is a mural with an ice and a fire dragon with the words Dueling Club on it, which makes me smile every time I'm queued up for that ride now. Additionally, the park has also paid homage to it by creating dueling mocktails served at the Mythos restaurant, and even had a full haunted house walkthrough for Halloween Horror Nights in 2023 themed to the ride. Unfortunately, I don't ever see anyone building an attraction like this again, and definitely not B&M. Like I said, they've built 33 of these inverts, and these are the only 2 to ever be scrapped. And to no fault of their own. It's not like the ride was having mechanical issues or near the end of its life. These B&M inverts can really stand the test of time. And many of B&M's coasters still in operation today are older than Dueling Dragons were, going as far back as 1990. The company has built a total of 133 roller coasters, and the only other coaster aside from the Dueling Dragons that's been scrapped for good is Green Lantern, which was located at Six Flags Great Adventure and was demolished just a few months ago. The next few years will be interesting for the company, as a lot of their older coasters are getting into their mid-30s, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. As for building something like this again, it's just too much of a liability since guests can't be trusted with loose articles, even with the locker systems being implemented. At the end of the day, it wasn't B&M or Universal's fault this happened, so let's just blame this guy. Hagrid's is an amazing ride and very much deserving of replacing the final form of Dragon Challenge. But is it worthy of replacing the original Dueling Dragons in all its glory? Now that's a far more difficult question to answer. Did you have the chance of riding this set of legendary coasters? And if so, in what form? And which side do you prefer? Are you Team Blizzrock or Pyrock? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like so others can get wind of it as well. Also, if you're new here and enjoy theme park content, hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on so you never miss a future video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.